In today's lesson, we're going to be looking at the basics or the foundations of what gives us algebra. So before we jump into it, let's look at some vocabulary that you're going to need to know. The first vocabulary that you're going to need to know is numerical expression. Okay, a numerical expression is a mathematical sentence involving only numbers and operation symbols. Okay, operation symbols, that's symbols like plus, minus, multiplication, division. So an example of a numerical expression would be something like 10 plus 6. Okay, I have only numbers and I have operation symbol of a plus sign. Now you can have more than one operation symbol. The second vocabulary word that you need to know is a variable, and it is a letter, usually a letter, it can be a symbol, that represents an unknown quantity. So in algebra, a lot of times we're solving for a number we don't know. So we put a variable in its spot if we don't know that number. And some examples of variables, the most common is X. We can use Y. You'll see A. Any letter, usually of the alphabet, can stand for some unknown quantity. The third vocabulary word is a variable expression, and it is a mathematical sentence involving numbers, variables, and operation symbols. So an example of variable expression might be something like x plus 6 equals 8. And then in algebra, we'll be able to solve what does x have to be, what unknown quantity or unknown number. Okay, the fourth vocabulary word is evaluate, and that means to plug in a number for a variable and then solve the problem. Okay, so I might have something like x equals 2, so then x plus 8 equals, and then I'm going to actually take that 2 and I'm going to take it and I'm going to plug it in, so I get 2 plus 8, which equals 10. Then our last vocabulary that we need to know is a verbal model, and it's a word equation that represents a real situation. Okay, so an example would be like 4 minus a number is 1. Okay, and then we're going to take that and we're actually going to rewrite it as a numerical or variable expression today. Okay, so let's take this vocabulary and let's put it into some problems. So our first example, evaluate the expression 4D. Okay, now 4 and D, if you look, there's no actual operation symbol. There's no plus sign, minus sign, no division sign. There's an understood multiplication. These two numbers are being multiplied. And when we evaluate, that means we are going to take, it says when D equals 120, so we're going to take that number and we're going to plug it in to where that variable or that letter was. So I'm going to get 4 times 120, because we said since they're right beside each other, they're being multiplied. And if I multiply that, that's going to give me out 480. So we took it, we plugged it in when we solved. Okay, example 2, evaluate each expression. And it says that when x is 10, so wherever I see an x, I'm going to put 10 in its spot. And then where y is 4, so wherever I see a y, I'm going to put 4 in its place. Okay, so A, x plus y. So I have an x, so 10 is going to go in its spot, plus I have a y, 4 goes in its spot, and then I'm going to add them, and I'm going to get out 10 plus 4 is 14. Now on B here, I have x, y. Again, there's no operation symbol that we see, so we know that these are being, again, like in the previous example, multiplied. And wherever I see an x, I'm going to put in a 10, and we'll multiply it by wherever I see a y, I'm going to put in a 4, and 10 times 4 gives me 40. So I have evaluated. Okay, I'm going to give you a minute, and I want you to pause this video. I want you to do the U-try, numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then once you finish them, I want you to come back and check your answers. Okay, now that you've finished those problems and you checked your answers, let's move on. We're going to look at some verbal models now, taking these sentences with words and changing them into mathematical sentences with numbers and letters. So some common words or phrases for operations. Addition, you'll see plus, more than, total. Those are some common words. For subtraction, you'll see less than. You can see difference. And these aren't all, there are definitely more. Multiplication, product is a common one. Division would be quotient. Okay, so let's look at some examples. We're going to take these sentences with numbers and words and change them into variable expressions. Okay, so the first one is the quotient of a number and 8. Okay, so quotient means I am dividing. It says of a number. If I don't know what that number is, we let a variable represent it. You can let any letter, does not matter. So what am I doing? I am dividing. Quotient means to divide a number, say x, we don't know what it is, and 8. So I'm going to write that as a mathematical problem. Okay, my first number is x, I don't know what it is. What am I doing? I am dividing it by 8. Okay, another way that we could write it is x over 8. That fraction bar there also means division. Okay, number 2, 12 less than a number. Okay, so first thing, less than means I'm going to subtract a number. I don't know what that second number is, so we're going to say it is x. Now we got to be very careful when I say less than, because I want to know what number am I subtracting 12 from. So I got to be very careful when I write this. So whenever I see the words less than, we're going to switch the first and second number in the sentence. Okay, so 12 less than a number means I'm taking 12 away from that number. So I put that number first, which is x minus 12. That's what our expression looks like. Okay, then I want you to pause this video and I want you to try these next 4, and then I want you to unpause and check. Okay, now that you've worked these 4 out and you've checked, I want you to go to the next page. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to print this out or some way that you can write on it to show your work. The bottom half, if you look, it's actually the same thing. So this bottom part you do not need to do. It's exactly the same as the top. But you need to finish 1 through 5 on the top here. And you need to write it out with pencil, print this piece of paper out, work out your problems, and then you need to turn it in with your handwritten work onto the Google Classroom assignment.